Welcome to Aid Station Cuisine, a podcast for connecting endurance athletes and their personal experiences with the intersection of food, culture, and athletics. The show is presented by PawAnRepeat Media LLC, and I am Kyle Petronio, your host, producer, founder, and owner of PawAnRepeat Media. So our show format is a bit more open-ended than other podcasts out there, so listen in and we'll give you a general rundown. So our guest, they are known as the chef. That could be the master example of a cooking legend, whether that be through food or athletic ability. That's up to you to decide, of course. And the host, typically yours truly, although that may vary, will ask the guest several open-ended questions before allowing them to discuss a topic of their choosing. So you're looking at about a 30 to 45 minute episode counter each time, which is a great duration for those of you who like to multitask or would rather intentionally listen. Nothing too crazy here. Now, to introduce our guest. Welcome to Aid Station Cuisine, a podcast for connecting endurance athletes and their personal experiences with the intersection of food, culture, and athletics. Our guest today is Selena Tran. What's up?
Hello. What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We've been yapping about, I don't even know.
Just anything and everything.
Data, ASMR with microphones and stuff. And it's like April right now, and it was snowing earlier. I don't know if you noticed that.
It was. Yeah, I was in a meeting. I looked out, and I was like, "Is it snowing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, a little jarring.
One of my coworkers at my real job is from Brazil, and he actually goes down there in the winters because he doesn't want to deal with the Michigan, Michigan stuff. And we were all joking. He's like, man, I just didn't get enough winter, so I brought it today.
No, please.
I'm like, my dude, Vinny, come on. But it's all good. Well, you are a perfectly legitimate chef from what I have heard down the pipeline.
Love food. So excited to chat about that.
Yeah, me too. I feel like I enjoy eating it more just because cooking is hard, but I enjoy cooking. I just love to eat too. So I don't know.
That's really. I feel like the hard thing about cooking is the cleaning part. So you.
Oh, that part.
Yeah, I know that part sucks.
Well, so actually no, I feel like that part's the easiest for me.
Really?
Okay. Adam and I were talking about this. Actually, our first three guests, Margaret, Austin, and Adam, are not the primary chefs in their residence. So. Okay. We're kind of starting to switch that around for the next few episodes, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, my partner and I, Andrew, we kind of are co-chefs. He's a very good sous chef in terms of prepping everything. Okay. And then depending on which dish it is, one of us will lead depending on the other. But the whole thing is I think we've gotten into the habit of cleaning as we're cooking, so then it's not as overwhelming. And I feel like that's the hack. Yeah,
that is the hack.
Yeah.
You're also an emerging endurance athlete. I don't even know when that whole chapter started for you. I did listen to Adam's episode, but honestly, it's been a minute.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I did cross country in high school, so I've been running for a decade and a half.
Okay, it's coming back to me.
Yeah.
East Coast, right?
Yes.
Okay. Super cool.
I think in terms of being as consistent, probably within the past couple of years. So
for sure. I feel like there's we can get into this later, but there's a lot more data out there now than there historically was. I completely forgot about this, guys. I should have just kept
just wanted to be double
mic'd.
mic'd.
Double mic. No feedback loops here, guys. Yeah. But data loop or not data loops.
I was gonna say you could write a for loop,
Yeah. You could write a for loop. Python accepted here, I guess. I don't know.
I'm an R user.
What's your favorite coding language, programming language?
Well, I do a lot more stats. I use R.
Okay.
I have used Python in the past, and then I've had to also learn Stata, which I don't know if that's considered a coding language. And don't come for me, but
I mean, I'm just working with Excel and SQL, so I don't know. I'm just that guy. But all that to say, you're in the endurance space. I guess where do you see yourself kind of going with? I know you're primarily running. You may have mentioned interest in trails. You gave me a slight look there.
I mean, I don't think I would want to do anything like ultra related with the trail wise or anything like super long, but I do like,
honestly, probably smart. I mean, we've talked with Adam and
I mean, I didn't even realize the extent of it until I started meeting more people like you and Adam, and then like hearing about everything that goes into it. I'm just like, wow, it's pretty intense. But I think I like running through the trails more for
leisure and fun, not just suffering and hating yourself. We've already mentioned too, you're kind of a data dynamo. That's actually a name we used for one of our the guy I was talking about earlier who wanted the snow in April in the health quality improvement space. So you can talk a little bit about that if you'd like. I don't know how in depth you want to go with it, but.
I mean, I reached the 6-month point of being at my current job, so that's like really exciting. I think for the data stuff, it's like a mix of trying to figure out what is the best data set to help like consult other people who are like in this space, and then also, you know, doing like ad hoc requests of like, hey, like can you prepare this data for me and stuff like that.
I love the random report requests.
Exactly. I weirdly really like data cleaning, which I feel like it's like a controversial thing, I feel like, for people who work with data. You know,
I have different phases of it. I'm like, wow, this is the best thing ever, and then like my current phase is like, wow, this sucks, like let me just like do some password resets. Like, come on, man. I know it's very different, like, it's like very domains, but
but it's
domains
like, ooh
but oh, I should get some like little.
You should.
That's stealing directly from Adam, and I'd get a cease and desist pretty quickly. Anyway,
but yeah, no, I think it's really cathartic sometimes just to be like, okay, we don't have to like, we can just make this very usable for people. It's frustrating sometimes, or like sometimes I use it as like an opportunity to see if I can test out writing a code in like a different way and see if it works, because then you can like see the actual result of like what happens, like
making workarounds or just like improvements to something that's already there. I feel like our non-data friends are gonna be like, what are you nerds, come on, man.
I know. Do you get this satisfaction of when you are testing out some code and then it works and it's like, yes. Also, I mean, I think the whole thing too of like that's fun about working with data and coding is that it's almost like it's an element of like problem solving.
Yeah, totally.
And then it's like nice to like have this problem, right, figure out how to like tackle it, and then have the technical skills to be able to carry that out, and then you're like, okay, I did this thing. And then,
totally.
Yeah.
What kind of drove you toward data, or just like you may have talked about this already, but like where
I mean,
where's the inspiration, I guess?
I've done research since like undergrad, and then I think it wasn't until grad school that I realized that each step of the research process is a job, and it's and then trying to figure out like which part of that do I like the most, and I realized it's the problem solving part, and then learning
troubleshooting,
and then like learning the technical skills to be able to do that. And it's almost like the data analytics part is almost like when you get the answers to the questions that you're asking, and I realized that that's the part that sparks most joy to me. So I was like, okay, like maybe we'll lean into this and see what we can do. And then I got better at coding. I was like, wait, this is cool.
I need to like work on the coding piece, but
it comes and goes. I mean, most of the times it's also like understanding
syntax.
But like understanding how to find the answer to what you're looking for. Like sometimes I think I don't have a lot of things of like memorized or of how to do it, right? But I'm like, I've seen this before, so I'm just gonna go Google it and figure out how to do it, right? And so it's like
ChatGPT, kill a data center.
I know. I just try not to use too much of like the chat
you and me both. Real quick, what are your thoughts on the chat?
I figured we were gonna go down this route.
Let's go down this rabbit hole.
Okay. I think I'm much more hesitant and like, I don't want to say skeptical, but more just like cautious about using it, because I think about all the implications, right, of environmentally, like all the effects of that.
Data centers, PII,
exactly,
PHI.
Yeah.
I mean,
and also I have this. It's not a well-formed thought yet, but so the whole thing about these like large language models, right, and the whole like AI and stuff is that it's almost like recursive, right? It's on it's using stuff that's already generated, and so I'm wondering if it's gonna get to a point where no one's generating. Yes, exactly. Yeah, no one's like generating new content because they're just using the AI stuff. And then I'm like, what's going to happen?
So like at the small university I work at, like a business college, right? Like these kids are like I love how I'm saying these kids. I'm like not that far out of college realistically. Them kids. Jeez, I'm an old whippersnapper now. But like they're using like they have these like Turnitin is a great example.
Yes.
And it checks basically, for those of you who are not familiar, like, hey, are you cheating or not? And like now it can detect AI usage.
Yeah, because it gives like a percentage of like how much of this has it seen before. But then
like
if you're
multiple kids, like 100% using that, and I'm just like that you're becoming too reliant.
I know,
on the tool.
Because that's the other thing too is I worry about because being able to Google something, you have to look through the different links and like stuff, but then it also requires you to critically think about where you're getting your source, right?
Correct.
And if you're just using like a ChatGPT kind of thing and it just outputs the answer, do you know where it's coming from? Like is there a reliable source? Like, and those are the questions that I worry about too, because being able to think critically about just everything is like such an important skill to have.
It needs to not be like lost. And I feel like it's starting to like starting to lose the way. I mean,
I will say it is a very useful tool. Yeah, it's very, very useful.
On the flip side.
But I think that like understanding that it is a tool and using it in that way instead of just like being totally reliant on it is the way that I want people to
think about it and use it and like all that good stuff. Yeah. For sure. All right. Well, that was the intro, I think.
Hello, people. Thank you.
Hello, people.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, right? Talking about data. This is actually it's a data podcast now. We can get a little bit into our kind of background on friendship. I mean, it's very recent, obviously. Yeah. So I think we first met at a Sparkling Sundays run, or at least we met at oh my gosh, Adam, dude, stop,
like the center of the community.
Adam is the center of Ann Arbor. But yeah, Sparkling Sundays. What is Sparkling Sundays? It's basically just like this collective of individuals that get together. I think it's like a 3 to 5 mile run. Have some beer and booze and donuts, and I don't even know, honestly. The vibes are just like get community together.
It's super chill. Yeah, I think there was one yesterday. I didn't make it to it, but
it's
very nice. It's
shout out Richard.
Yeah, and it was Silas. A nice change of pace too, because I think, no pun intended there, but nice change of pace in terms of like where we were running to, because we went to Detroit in November when we were meeting up. So and
I think it was right around Thanksgiving, maybe. I think so. I just remember I was like people were doing so many different things, and I was like, no, I want to go to this. I want to change a pace. I don't want like just to see the same people.
It's nice, and it's also to branch out in the community, especially with people who aren't as local to Ann Arbor, So it was nice.
I remember we just like started chatting about life, and I was like, I had listened to your episode, and I was like, yo, this is sick. Like, thank you for just existing and like
appreciate that,
putting out your energy into the world. So
thank you.
Yeah, I think I mean that now, but also I like kind of said it then too.
Yeah, so no, you did. Yeah, it was very nice.
Something along those lines, but
and then I think for me, I was like, oh yeah, I remember listening to your episode, and it's funny because I think that most of the people on the PRP I tangentially only know from the podcast, and like slowly I'm starting to meet everyone. I'm like, wait, your voice sounds familiar, you know?
I know you.
Yes, exactly.
Hey. This is actually just a burner account for Adam. Just like, all right, you guys are done on the PRP. All right, come and talk on this podcast and have fun. So
no, but it's your own thing too. So
it is.
Yeah.
Cool. Sparkling Sundays. Any other thoughts on that? I mean, it was just,
I really like the name. Like, I'm such a sucker for like alliterations. When you said Data Dynamo.
Data Dynamo. Yeah, I didn't come up with that one.
That's a good one too.
Okay, another, just real quick. This probably won't even go in the episode. I'll cut this out. But are you familiar with like how CPUs work at all?
A little bit. Yeah.
So like all the gamers are like, oh, I'm gonna overclock my CPU.
Yeah.
So one of our student workers was like, oh, I'm gonna, like, he's taking IT courses in addition to like his business degree, which is great. And on one of, like, whoa.
Yeah.
On the lesson module, it said like overlocking or something, and I think he sent a message to the professor and was like, hey, I think, is this supposed to be overclocking? And then we gave him the nickname of overclocking overlord or something like that.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, it's all like
it's funny
because
I feel like that's sometimes
alliteration.
It's sometimes what people use ChatGPT for, so like to come up with clever names. I'm like, here you are, just doing it. You don't even need that. So
you don't even need that. I think it's like, it's a good, oh my gosh, we're back in the ChatGPT.
I know, sorry, I'm gonna stop bringing it back.
No, it's okay. I think like it's all in how you're using it.
Yeah.
And if you literally can't think of anything else, like, you can use that. You could also phone a friend. So
yes, there are other avenues. There are other people.
Like other humans to interact.
We haven't gotten extinct, you know.
No, we're not yet. Thank God.
Oh God.
Real quick, it's so funny because we've only like met up for one or two of these things, but HOUSEKEEPING in Northwest Ann Arbor. What what got you into the hills?
My training plan. Sorry, that's not a
shout out Eliana.
Yeah,
or okay, yeah.
That is not an exciting answer, but yeah, essentially that, because apparently there's some, she can explain the benefits of it much better than I can, but in terms of like being able to run hard on it, but then it's not as hard on your body or something like that. I think I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, I can do sunset and I don't want to die on this, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think I told you about the, like, it was almost like a hill ladder, not precisely a ladder.
Yeah, what was the exact workout? It was really
so I just like, I kind of just kept zigging and zagging up and down the hills until I ended up at sunset, and like sunset was pretty rough. But yeah, like, just hills are fun.
Yeah.
And hills are life. You don't seem to, I thought you liked them more than I was led to believe.
No,
so
I mean, I've grown to like them. I definitely see the benefits, because now, like, in a long run where if there are shorter hills, I'm just like, oh, this is nothing, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think confidence boost wise, it's cool. Also seeing the ability to, you know, run up them really fast, and that's progressing, but they suck, man.
They suck, man. Yeah, they do.
But I'll do them, you know?
But it's a good, like, what's the word? It's a good confidence booster.
Yeah.
And then also like a
and if it's not as hard on the body, then yeah, you know, they'll get the benefits of it.
And it's not a bike. I don't even know what that has to do with anything, but yeah.
I mean, you've been biking a lot, so I'm sure it's like,
I've been biking a lot. Yeah, it's front of mind. I've got a gravel race coming up. By the time this releases, it'll be done, and then I'll be onto a 25K on the road. But the bike race is in Grand Rapids area. It's my first gravel race, I think, ever. Yeah, just went out for like a 52-mile ride Friday after work. I actually like took half the day off and was just like,
oh yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah, that's a very good use of PTO. So
it was totally like the best time. So that was fun.
Is that how far the
it's 50
race
miles.
will be? Okay,
race is 50 miles, filthy 50, part of the dirty 30.
Another good alliteration.
No, filthy 50. Oh my god.
It's gonna be the theme.
Alliterations and data dynamos or something.
It's like, yeah, it's
episode
the
title.
true nerd. Yeah.
This is good. I feel like I haven't talked about data with like people outside of my own work.
I will continue talking about data. That's not that.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Okay. You had been asked by Adam on the PRP. I don't even remember what the original question was, but you kind of redirected maybe his thought process in terms of like, well, okay, where are you from? Because that's like super vague. And I think you had said something like, where does home feel like for you, or what sports team like? Yeah.
I think some people have interpreted it as like different ways of asking that, and if someone is a huge sports enthusiast, then that's like a way to redirect the question
connect
of like
with them.
Yes, exactly. I think that, so for reference for anyone, it's more of like being asked the question like, where are you from? It's like a really charged and sort of loaded question depending on
context.
And also like, as someone who is an Asian American person, the context for that is that it's always like, hey, like, you're not like
here. Us or something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like a very othering question, and for some people there's none of that into it, which is like totally valid, but there are different ways, and it's always in terms of like, what is one's intention. And I think that is where my sort of like when I talk about this with people of like just like think about why you're asking that question, like what you're hoping to get out of it. And I like the question of like framing it as like where do you call home, or like where does like home feel like for you, because it can help the person who's being asked like take in whatever direction in terms of like, you know, Ann Arbor is a very transient town, and so it's like, you know, did you not grow up here but now Ann Arbor feels like home for you, or you know, like wherever you moved from, does that feel like home? And then also too, like home doesn't need to be a place, you know, it could be like where you're at, like, or sorry, not where you're at, but like who you're with, or you know,
it could be where you're at though too. I mean, with that space in mind. It
could be in food, you know, food could be
food. Are you segueing us right now, Selena? Are you kidding me?
But no, but like genuinely, like it doesn't have to be a specific place. It could be, you know, people, or like, and it's a very nice entry point too to get past the sort of surface level things, because you know when people meet each other, it's always like, everyone's just awkward. It's like, what do you do for your job, or like what do you, and it's like sometimes people are like, my job is not everything, I want to talk about this, you know, like, but like if you're like, oh, like sometimes I'll just ask someone like, have you always been in Michigan, you know, if I meet them in Michigan, and then sometimes that opens up the whole door of like explaining if they moved here, or if they haven't, then I get to learn more about Michigan, right? But I like asking, you know, where do you call home, or like, you know, is this home for you, or something like that, because there's like a human element to it as well that I think is more just than it's like less like
detached,
maybe. And also more involved, personable, and like less of like, here's the things that are on the paper, that
here's the checklist.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the checklist on my Excel sheet.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And I think that was one of the things that like prompted me to like I don't think I like directly reached out, but when I heard you were going to the Sparkling Sundays, I was like, sick. I'm gonna ask about this, but like I have no idea how to bring this up. I was just like,
I appreciate you thinking about it.
Yeah.
Have you like thought more about that question for yourself?
I think so. Yeah, maybe not like right now, but like previously. And I kind of have a very interesting background. So like my dad is like kind of Irish descent. Mom is Irish and Italian. Mom is of kind of Irish and Filipino. So I'm like kind of a mixed bag in terms of like those influences and ethnicities. And so my mom, like, I never grew up in a Filipino family per se, but like I've seen my cousins in like Kentucky, and I'm just like, wow, that like family culture is like super cool. And like there's part of me that like, I'm also like more or less an only child. I have a few half sisters who I just, you know, call my sisters, but it's just definitely like strange when I'm like, I'm white basically, but I don't know, like there's still those like Asian parts of me that are
there are cultural influences, and even if you are quote unquote like white presenting, you know. Okay,
let's go. Let's go.
Does your mom always ask you like, have you eaten yet?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, that's like
that's a cultural touchstone for Asian families. Okay. No matter, I think it's the mom stereotypically. Yeah. Have you eaten?
Yes. And it's like a whole thing too, where it's a
love language.
It is. That's why I definitely think that like food is a love language.
Yeah.
Cut fruit is also like a subset of that. Yes.
Yeah.
But the whole thing too of like, have you eaten yet, is almost like there's like such charged connotation for me, especially because English is not my first language. Like I learned to speak Vietnamese first, and I only speak Vietnamese to my parents. And so whenever
that's right.
Yeah.
So it's so different.
Yeah. So whenever if I like call my mom, or like if she'll text me, she'll always be like "Gong ăn cơm chưa," which is like literally translates to like child, like have you eaten yet? Child. But like it's not like a it's not like a like diminutive child. It's like a very loving like connotation to that word. It's almost like saying like dear, or sweetie, or honey, or you know, like one of those like sort of affectionate terms. And so
that's so cool.
Whenever if I'm like in public and I hear someone speaking Vietnamese or something, and I like hear them ask that question, I'm always just like, like it's like my heartstrings, right? And so much so that there's like different people's like artworks that like they'll write cards or like, you know, have you eaten yet? And like I got one for my friend like as a birthday card I think a year ago, and I was just like, oh, you get it, right? And just whenever I've only hosted like maybe 1 or 2 get-togethers or whatever, but my whole thing was someone came to the door and I'm like, have you eaten yet? You know, it's like so ingrained, and I think it's just like a way of like, hey, I just want to make sure that you're taken care of, and it's like an extending of like, I care for you, and like food is like a way to share that sort of love. So.
Oh my gosh, that is it ties directly into that, like, where does home feel like for you? I feel like
so that's why I think it's like, it's not necessarily like a physical place, right? Like I definitely when I moved to Michigan, I definitely was looking for those different elements, like even within the grocery store. Like there's this one dish that I really like making. It's called titkaljeong, which is like a pork belly, like braised pork belly.
Okay.
That it's almost like a version of pulled pork, kind of like use like a soda to make it, right? Yeah. And so in Vietnamese culture, the way that I grew up making it with my family is that we use Coco Rico, which is a coconut soda. And when I first moved to Ann Arbor, I was like scouring all of the grocery stores and I could not find it. It was so frustrating. I had to like drive to Madison Heights where there's a large Vietnamese population to go to the grocery store there. Okay. Now Way One has Coco Rico, so I'm like, we moved closer and closer. But like, you know, there's like elements of that when I first moved there. I was like trying to find stuff that I need in my cooking.
Sure.
But
that's amazing.
Yeah, so
my mom will also go and like scour for variety of things. And honestly, I don't even like know what they are half the time.
I know. I mean, there's like, I don't remember a lot of No, don't. I mean, there's like stuff that I've only remembered from my childhood, but I'm like going to the grocery store, I'm like, I don't remember quite what this was for.
Yeah.
But
I remember it being
I remember.
The picture.
Yes, exactly. You know,
in the picture.
Or like there's like, you know, a brand of fish sauce that I use because I saw it all the time and I don't even know if this is the best one, but just because it's like familiar to me, I'm like
I know that like packaging and
exactly.
like that's the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Man, we're already like diving into the food stuff.
I'm telling you, I could talk about food just as much as data. So.
Oh, I know. Cool. We're gonna pivot off the food for a moment. Well, this might come back in this question. I don't know. But just like going, you know, kind of being real with things. Like, what inspires you currently in your day to day, or just like recently?
That's a good question. I have a sticker on my laptop that says like "kind people" or "my kind of people."
More alliteration. Also, like that was like virtually the same quote everyone has said.
No, okay,
but it's true.
I know.
But it's true.
I don't want to like. I have been listening to the episodes, and so I think that that's like in line with my own values. Yeah, but I will say like an extended version of that sort of answer for me lately has been with just how like frustrating things have been in the world.
It's putting it lightly.
Yeah. I know.
If you know, you know.
I don't want to get started, but it's like it's always top of mind.
Yeah.
But like people who are, you know, experiencing all of this and also still able to remain kind and compassionate like through that. And also something that I've been leaning on with my team at work is just understanding that sometimes we just all of the time we need to meet people with where they're at instead of just like talking at people and like being like, hey, like these are what I believe in, these are my core values or whatever, but maybe being more constructive in terms of, hey, like what is it about this that you may not know about that you would like to know about, or maybe
curiosity.
Exactly, you know, approaching it from like a point of like not being so reactionary and just being like, hey, we can find a common ground.
I think people, and this is, I think we're referring to like American politics, and we won't get into that whole can of worms, but I think honestly on both sides everyone is reactionary right now, and that's a variety of factors going into that, but I think ultimately like people just need to like communicate with one another and like have strategies to like be able to do that effectively, because without that like we're just gonna keep, you know, turning our wheels 1,000 times over and over and overclocking. So
good callback.
Life just keeps, circling back. It's cyclical. Everything is recursive, Selena. Everything's recursive.
No.
Or is it? I don't know. Tune in next week. But yeah, just like people being kind to one another.
I think so. And also just something too that I think I heard recently was the quote of tempering fear with hope. And so I think when I see people being kind and compassionate, it reminds me of like, okay, this is our purpose in terms of not getting so down in the despair, right? And so just having that hope that people are exuding, I think is sort of
one of my favorite Dune quotes is "Fear is the mind killer."
Yeah, for sure.
And like it applies in so many domains. I'm just, oh my god, so many IT jokes. All right, we're gonna wrap that section because
I know we could
go
talk
on
about
all
this.
day.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. First, well, this is a couple layers of this question, but we're just gonna get right into it. What is your favorite recipe? First for your workouts.
Okay.
We'll start there, and then we'll get into the cooking thing after,
cooking.
because we'll probably spend hours.
I'm kind of boring when it comes to my workouts. I think in terms of like what I eat, it's like toast and peanut butter. Are
you looking ahead? Toast and peanut butter works though. Any nanners?
Yeah. Maybe after. I will say that before like a big race or anything, I always eat pho. Like something about broth and the noodles is like it like sits really well. It's like filling
good
but not like
digestive
heavy.
aid.
Yeah. And I feel like whatever electrolytes or something from the broth, like salts, whatever. I'm not a dietitian, so don't take advice from me.
Adam's partner is, so we might have her on and she can talk about the properties of pho.
But also just like anytime, even after a hard workout too, I think just something about like a broth is very healing. So
yeah, I feel that. And like I don't know, in the winter it's like big soup energy.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
We could talk about soups all day.
Yeah.
I need to grab some recipes from you for that. So let me know, or we'll probably talk about it next. So let's talk about the cooking thing. I think as I've learned through this pod, like narrowing down to like your favorite recipe is probably a little too narrow a scope. But maybe just like a few of them that you enjoy that people may have not heard of and is really nutritious or you enjoy it a lot, whatever the case.
One of the things that I cook, I think frequently, it is a soup. It's called canh chua, which is a like sour soup in Vietnamese. It's tomato based. There's tamarind, pineapple, bean sprouts, celery. Everything goes into one pot, so it's very easy in terms of like the cleanup if you're worried about that. Yeah. But it's very simple. It takes maybe like an hour, and that's mostly just like letting the broth like simmer. Yeah. You can have it without any protein for anyone who's vegetarian, but if you need the protein, you can cook it with shrimp, or I also like to use salmon, and then you eat it with rice. Ooh. The whole thing about like I think soup in Vietnamese culture is that yes, it's soup, but you always have rice and like a protein with it.
It's always the rice.
Yeah.
Rice and a little bit of like fish sauce or like
okay. I always eat it with salmon, but then it tastes even better when you put more fish sauce on the salmon. Ooh. So good. Because it has like the umami to it. That's the part that's really good. So that's like that's one recipe that I cook pretty frequently. And I think another one that's like really easy too is this like fried tofu in like a tomato sauce. And that one's like super easy for a weekday. It's like 15 minutes. Everything goes in one pot. It's like Roma tomatoes.
You're in a
like,
rush.
Yeah, exactly. Also eat that with rice and it's really nice.
Yeah.
And then, the whole thing of like there's always needs to be like a veggie with the rice, and so that one's really good with cucumber. So just like
cucumber, rice and all
protein,
sorts of stuff. Oh.
So those are my two recs, but I have plenty more because I have been cooking a lot more Vietnamese stuff since I moved to Ann Arbor, just because I'm like, oh wow, like a little homesick, like I'm gonna cook something that reminds me. So there's more elaborate dishes. It's just those ones take a little bit more time to cook, but I think the process of cooking is very fun because you have all these like stuff, right? You put it together and then you're like, I made this. So.
I think it's like getting the brain engaged in a different way too, like just rewire. I don't know if it does anything with the neural pathways. I'm not a neurosurgeon or anything, and I don't but it does it definitely like does things tangibly that you're like, oh, this is, you know, and it's like a kind of a, as we mentioned before, like a love language, but also just like this kind of work of art of, you know, maybe
I mean, you're making something, creating something, and also
just the act of creating. I guess that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah.
It's also, you can be engaged, but it doesn't need, you can like follow a recipe. You don't need to be the one like generating the stuff, right? Put on a podcast and cook, you know.
Ooh.
Listen to this episode.
You might be able to. We'll see what this chops up to, you know, and everything else. Cool. Getting back to kind of the travel piece, you know, where do you aspire to travel? It seems like you've kind of been have you been in the United States for most of your life? Or
I was born in the US.
That's right. Okay. And I know you said you traveled from like, was it Massachusetts?
Yeah, so I grew up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I lived in the DMV for a couple of years, did DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and then I've been in Michigan for 5 years now.
Okay.
So
sweet. That's awesome. It's been a little bit of time here for sure.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of weird thinking it's like, oh, it's been 5 years.
It's like it's been 5 years. Yeah. And like with that kind of in mind and all the things we talked about before, like, do you? I know you've been up north, like we just talked about that a little bit. But like anywhere else in the continental U.S. or even just like literally anywhere else that interests you?
Yeah, I used to, one of my jobs after undergrad, I traveled a lot for that, and so it's really cool to like see different parts of the country, also the world. Sure. I will say that one of my favorite places I've been to was Yosemite National Park. Ooh. And I went there I think almost 4 years ago, but I think that trip stands out in my mind because it's one of the first times I've ever traveled just to travel instead of like
without an agenda.
Yeah, without an agenda of like, it's not for work, it's not for like a school thing, or it's not like you know to go see someone or anything like that. It's just like, okay, I'm just doing this to explore the place. Yeah. And so I definitely have more like national parks I'd like to visit. Internationally, it's not like as high on my list to travel to, mostly because I always want to be like super respectful of like other people's like culture, and so I don't want to just like do it without thinking it through. Yeah. And so I think
Adam and I talked about that last time too.
It's a very valid point, and I just want to. I appreciate like other people thinking like that too, because I think it's very valid. You know, like you want to leave a space like better than you found it, right? And so part of that is like doing the research to figure out like what is respectful and like sort of like adhering to that, because you know you are a visitor. And so that's why it's not as high on my list. I will say I would like to go to Vietnam, but like just like be a tourist. I went twice when once when I was 2, I think, and once when I was 10. But I was like a kid and very bratty, and so you know,
as kids are.
Yeah, so I don't think I enjoyed it as much, and so I just want to like go and like be a tourist, and also because I've been working to improve my speaking and like reading and stuff like that. So
And you said, so like speaking Vietnamese with your parents primarily, like that's probably what you grew up speaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's like conversation. It's like really interesting how language develops, right? Because and this is only recently that I've learned this from like taking classes of learning to read and write Vietnamese better. Yeah. But the whole thing too about this year that's very big is that it's like the 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon. So like the fall of Saigon is when the Vietnam War, or the war in Vietnam, ended, depending on who you're talking to. They'll call it different things. Sure. Sure. But yeah, so there's people who after the war, like, you know, are dispersed all across the world, and depending on when someone left Vietnam, the version of the language that they speak of Vietnamese is like contextualized to that time frame. And so like as I've been learning to improve my skills in this language, right, the words that I grew up using for different things are like outdated.
That's so interesting. Yeah, so it's like different from a dialect but kind of similar, it sounds like.
It's almost like you know how like the word groovy used to be used in like, I don't know, the 80s or 70s, 80s or whatever. Okay, but no one like uses that anymore as like a, I know that's more like slang or something, but it's like, but the word I'm specifically thinking about in Vietnamese is like the word for airport, right? I grew up saying it as like phi trường, but now it's called sang bai, which is like completely different, right?
So like pre-war, post-war sort of thing?
Kind of, yeah.
Like...
And then you also add in like the different dialects and then like regional accents and stuff like that.
So
yeah. But yeah, I would like to go to Vietnam at some point. I keep thinking about maybe in the next couple of years, but we'll see. But yeah, I think other places just like in the continental US, there's really cool places to go visit.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things I did when I was in Yosemite was watch the sunrise at like 5 a.m. or something like that.
Yes.
So I have like this really cool video of like the time lapse of it, and it's just really, really peaceful, and like even being able to run there was like super cool. So
that's super awesome. We're kind of at the point now where I let my guests or my chef kind of direct the conversation wherever you'd like, and we can take as little or as long as you'd like with that. So my question to you now is, how would you like to spend the rest of our time? Today or tonight? It's getting late.
Wait, did you ever talk about the inspiration for the start of this podcast?
I did, but I can talk about it again.
Okay.
Because I think I've iterated each podcast on like how it happened, and like there's no clear like definition of what happened. So I think the original like inspiration that I honestly completely forgot about, and Austin Lewis mentioned to me, was I started Dog Stash in 2023.
Okay.
Just like a trail project that was basically just like selfishly like I wanted to like film trail running. I'd been watching a lot of like ultra marathon documentaries and like, whoa, this is cool. Like I'd love to do something like this for like the Midwest.
Yeah.
And
I see.
Yeah, so I was like running at a trail one time and saw like a really cool sunset. Similarly, and I was like, yo, that'd be sick to have like a bunch of people like just ripping through this trail and just like snap,
yeah,
like get a bunch of pictures and stuff and videos and make income off that somehow. I don't know. Selfishly. No. But yeah, it ended up being, there's like 3-4 of us, and my first question at that group run was, what is your favorite aid station food? So that idea kind of sparred from that. That was like June 2023 with Dog Stash. And then later on, I asked it at a bandit event, like a bandit group run, where most of these people were not ultramarathoners, and everyone was like super confused. They're like, what's an aid station?
Like
like a gel. Like, what are you talking about, dude? So, but yeah, that's
I'm like super inspired by people who can eat and then go run. I think I saw some woman run. She like went on a 10-mile run or something, ran to one ice cream shop, ate ice cream, and then went back and then ate at another ice cream shop. And I'm like, that's what I aspire to do.
Yo, blank slate, hook us up.
Yes, exactly. Run from the Ann Arbor to the Brighton
to the
location.
Brighton one. Yo. I think we just found a new type 2 fun activity.
I would do that. I don't even know what the distance is. I would do that.
I think it's like 2025, so you can get a marathon out of it, but you'd have to workshop the route a little bit because you don't want to be running on 23.
That's true.
Although, that'd be wild, just run on a highway with no cars. Like, I've always wanted to do that, but that's just never gonna happen.
I know. I was like, would it ever be under construction or something to be closed?
Maybe I should ask ChatGPT how I could run on
how to safely run.
How to safely run on a freeway.
Would it be able to map it for you? Is that the next generation of like these LLMs of like, all these ideas?
Honestly, we've gone through so much. I just have like one final question for you, and that just simply is, what advice do you have to people who are looking to improve their lives through any of the domains we talked about today?
That's a good question. Well, because this is like a larger existential thing, right? Of like asking, do I actually want to do this, or is it just like what I've seen everyone do, and it's the norm? Is it a
recursive loop?
Yeah,
that's gonna be the recursive loops in alliteration, amalgamation, something
like food and
food. Yeah. We're gonna have so many title ideas. I'm sorry. Continue.
You're good. I mean, these are thoughts that are in the loop in my head all the time. So
yeah.
No, but I really think that like it sort of comes down to like just being very intentional with one's time, and also that sort of exudes into like where you direct your energy, and like towards which communities that you're in, and how you are with that community, and just
maybe leaving some communities that aren't serving you.
Yeah, exactly, and also the idea too of I think there's like a philosophy of thinking about leaving things like thinking about seven generations from now, right? Of like leaving it like better for the subsequent like
posterity.
People. Yeah.
Literally all my lines are just from Christopher Nolan films, and I think I'm so smart. I'm not.
But yeah, I just think that like when people are really in tune with themselves, the way that they move, it comes across, and also then, you know, your true self, and then hopefully that true self is embodied in kindness and humanity and compassion. So
well said. Yeah. I think that's it. I don't know.
Cool.
We have anything else?
No.
We just talk
go
about
back to data.
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 ChatGPT.
Oh, wait. Here.
Wait, what? Final piece. Maybe.
Do you pronounce it data or data?
Oh my god. We're gonna just end it on that.
Thoughts for, you know,
thoughts.
Food thought. Or
food
thought.
Thought? Food thought. Oh my gosh. Well, Selena, it's been a pleasure.
Yes,
thanks for hanging and we're gonna wrap up, and thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for checking out an episode from the Aid Station Cuisine podcast, season 1. If you like the podcast, please share it with all your friends. Give it a rating on whatever platform you're on, and stay tuned to our PawAnRepeat Media Instagram for more information on upcoming episodes and other podcasts we may have available. Other than that, I hope you all have a great day, and take care.